Hey guys, welcome to Wickedly Judged, the podcast dedicated to exposing wrongful convictions and fighting for justice reform in America. I'm Rebecca, your host, and if you're new here, this show is for anyone who believes that justice isn't just a verdict, it's a promise, a process, and far too often, a fight. At Wickedly Judged, we shine a light on the cracks in our justice system by sharing the real stories of those who have been wrongfully accused, convicted, and forgotten by the courts. We give a voice to the families, advocates, and survivors who refuse to accept injustice as the end of their story. Before we dive in with our interview today, I want to give a thanks to our sponsors, Veteran Alliance, Yarn Therapy for Me, Justin Apron, Liberty First Radio, NDVLB, Prime Ledger Group, JSIL, and Wickedly Judged Justice Activation Project. I also want to give a special shout out to JP Verse of Versifier Records, who does our intro and outro on our audio podcast. Those are such powerful intro and outro. We appreciate it so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And your support, it fuels our mission. Thank you for standing with us in the fight to expose wrongful convictions and demand true justice. Now, here in just a minute, if you followed my podcast at all, you know that I handled the Tony Viola case, and I talked about justice for Dawn Pella. Rob is going to be coming on doing an interview with me in just a moment, and he is directly tied with the same fraudulent mortgage fraud scam charges that the government came up with. He is directly involved with that as well. He's going to be telling his side as to what happened in his particular case and how that brought him to meet Tony Viola and get involved with the Justice for Dawn, and how they've been putting on these events for Wrongful Conviction Day and bringing more awareness to the tragedy that happened to Dawn Pella. So give us just a minute and we will be right back. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm getting ready to bring Rob on board. Give me just one moment. Hey Rob, are you with me?
Hey, how you doing there?
I'm good. How are you?
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Do you see what I look like? But do I look like? Well, you're not going to see me anymore, so I didn't realize this would. Where's this cover at on this? Isn't this thing supposed to have a cover on it? But you flip the camera this way. Excuse me 1 second. I lost this.
No, you're fine. Take your time.
Just take this off. Okay, camera's turned off. Sorry about that, but
no, you're fine. Completely understand. So I've already started with the introduction and let them know that your case was directly involved with Tony Viola's case, and how when you met Tony, that brought you in with Dawn Pella and Justice for Dawn, and a little bit about how you guys hold these events on Wrongful Conviction Day to bring more awareness to wrongful convictions and also what happened to Dawn. So basically what I want you to do is tell us what happened that in your case, in your wrongful conviction, and how that has fueled the fire for you to do justice for Dawn and what all has been happening.
Sure, Rebecca, and thanks for having me join your show and talk about this. Tony's, in my case, were totally different. He was convicted of mortgage fraud when he didn't even own a mortgage company, but he owned a real estate company. I owned a mortgage company. And I started my career around 1988, originating loans, protecting assets for people, and just personal money management. And that was I was born to do. I loved doing it. I loved taking people that were teetering towards financial peril and turning them around and showing them, through the equity in their house, consolidate their bills or whatever other goals that they have. Okay. So that's how I got my start. Did it forever. And I started a down payment assistance company back when down payment assistance was being advertised all over the place, because I was starting to lose business around, let's say 2002, because rates were so low, and I only did fixed rate refinance loans. I didn't do purchase loans. I didn't do anything. I never did a variable rate loan. So when people came to me, these people were lying to them saying, oh, I can get you 1% and you'll pay $400 a month forever. Well, that didn't happen. All those loans went belly up. I had this down payment assistance company because I had to make income, and I loved helping people. Everything was legal. Title company said it was fine, and everything was fine until the mortgage crash, which the government caused themselves. More about that at another time for you. But they came looking and they said, hey, you're not allowed to do this. And I go, wait a minute. I go, all these title companies, the lenders approved who I was. Everyone's mother approved who I was. What are you talking about? So they just basically told me. I met Mark Bennett in 2009, 2 weeks after I had heart stents. That's a great thing, having the FBI. These people come in your office. I got the FBI in there. I got someone from the DOJ and IRS, revenue officer. I mean, I asked them, where's the CIA? they didn't laugh. I'm like, what do you people want? So they just handed me a letter, tried to get information from me. And I'm like, I have this company all arranged properly as it's supposed to be. And they said, you're in trouble. So I met Mark Bennett. I'll stop here. Do you have any follow-up questions I know it was long and labored there, but do you have any follow-up questions to anything that I just said?
Not yet.
Okay. So I go down there and I meet this Mark Bennett. The guy's like 5'7", comes and looks at me, and right away I saw a man who had his head flushed down the toilet in high school, and couldn't get dates in college, and whose only life, and a lot of these prosecutors are like this, they're real short, and they figure, not all of them, I'm just saying, with this guy, I've been bullied my whole life, so I'm going to go after, legitimate people and ruin their lives. But I knew I had some Napoleonic, complex narcissist. And his assistant was Kim Kepling, another piece of work, and a woman named Kelly Fatula. I went down there 5 different times and said, what are you people doing? Because, they were starting to arrest people like crazy, even before me. And I've been doing this since Reagan was president. I go, you guys have no clue about finance. You have no idea what you're even doing. Well, they would scream at me and say, well, we're going to add 10 more points to your sentence if you say that again. I would mention the lawyers that said, everything was fine, the title. They didn't care. They're going to add 10 more points to my sentence. I go, I thought I was innocent until proven guilty. Well, I found out naively before that isn't true in this country. You're guilty until you prove you're innocent, and we'll lie and we'll do everything to stop you from doing that. So
Yep.
Last time I went down there, and this really It was one of the worst moments of my life. I said, I'm not pleading guilty. I didn't do anything. You know, you people are nuts. I go, you caused this mortgage crash, the government, by these rates, and you're letting all the bankers go free that caused this and just going after low-hanging innocent people just to say, oh, we did something, people. And the population said, okay, they did something. They didn't realize, you know, they all knew the real criminals got away with it. But, you know, that's the
Right.
good old USA. But Bennett and Kepling looked me in the face and said, McCoy, and my wife had nothing to do with my business. She didn't know anything about anything. McCoy, if you don't plead guilty, we're going to put your wife in legal peril and put your autistic son in foster care. That hit me like a ton of bricks.
I can only imagine.
I had to run out of there. My attorney's following me in the elevator because I would have been charged with murder and defacing a corpse, because I was ready to tear him limb from limb for pulling that on me. Not in that moment, Rebecca, but when I told my ex-wife, but when I told my then wife, indictments are bad for marriages too, by the way. I said, honey, if I don't plead guilty, they're going to try and put you in jail. Well, my God, the poor girl almost had a nervous breakdown on the spot. And yeah, she's still terrified of these people today. Not as much, but they wrecked that woman's life. My God. And I was in the midst of raising a very difficult autistic child. I mean, I was going crazy here. So
Not to mention, you know, your own health issues that you were having at the time too.
Well, luckily I never had a heart attack. I just found out I had some blockages, but you know, I'm surprised that one of them didn't burst.
Right.
So this went on for like, you know, takes about a year and a half to two to finally. So that to that point is what happened to me. And this is going to be years before I met Tony. So if you have any other questions up to this point, any confused or I'm trying to.
What did they actually charge you with? Or should I say?
Well, you know, they start off with money laundering and conspiracy, you know, like 8 charges. And then I pleaded down to like conspiracy to defraud the United States government. Like these banks, you know, these banks didn't lose any money. They weren't even waiting to defraud the U.S. government. So it was one charge. And here's another thing. When I got my judge appointed at the beginning of the case, there's a lottery system. So they tell you there's a lottery system. So, you know, it's a fair process on what judge you get. My attorney called me, oh, Rob, you got Judge Oliver. He'll probably just get probation. I went, I don't care if it's probation. My life has been ruined. What good is that to me? But he goes, well, at least calls me the next day. His caseload is that you're going to have Judge Leoy in Akron. And sorry, Rob, she's about the worst you could get. Sarah Leoy, what a piece of work this woman was. Well, her and Bennett, you know, were during my, you know, the mumble jumble you have to go through in court. And, yes, Your Honor. And they loved each other. Yes, Mr. Bennett. Yes, Your Honor. Yes. I was ready to just throw up. I couldn't believe it that, you know, and Mark Bennett's a sexual predator running around the courthouse system. And they knew this. They knew this was going on way before we did. She knew it. And she allowed this stuff to go on. She's going to have a real problem eventually when I Me Too this to death, this sexual predator, and what Dawn told us these gigs were like, you know, in the office setting and all that. So anyway, I get 5 months. 5 months. I said, my God, why are you giving me 5 months? That's so stupid. You know, they put me in a camp in Pennsylvania. You know, a federal camp is basically everyone has to behave. Otherwise, you're going to go to the chicken coop or the hole, and that's not somewhere you want to be. So a camp is a fairly nice place. In fact, people laugh at me, but I had the 5 most relaxing months of my life in prison up to that point, especially what I was going through, because was just like 150 poor souls just trying to make each other laugh. And it was actually a pretty good time. And I actually, when my, aside, the food, it was okay once in a while, but, other, but I made it a health. I lost 50 pounds. I walked 12 miles. In fact, they called me the walker because that show was real popular, that Walking Dead. I walked 12 miles a day. That's how I did my time. I lost 50 pounds, got off all my blood pressure medicine. So I guess if you'd ask somebody, if you'd like to lose 50 pounds and regain your health, would you go to a federal camp for 5 months? I bet you a lot of people would do it.
Vacation.
I just ate what they gave me, which is like 2,100 calories. I didn't go to the commissary until the last week I was there. I decided I never had Nutella, so I had to get a whole jar of Nutella and crackers. But the guys are laughing at me because I knew what I was coming back to as a child that went out of control. Because I told Leroy, when he realizes his daddy's going to be gone, I feel sorry for his mother. And he did all right the first couple months. But I got a call, and this child had he turned into like something out of The Exorcist. He's autistic and all that. And we were trying all these meds, and these meds they can make the problem worse a lot of the times. They wouldn't let her talk to me. They said, "Don't insult lady." They wouldn't even let her talk to me in prison to try and, at that moment, I finally called her. But, I came home to a mess after that 5 months. And my probation officer named Ken Dobbs, the nicest person that I ever met in this whole process was my probation officer. He comes in the door and he's looking at my file. Never met the guy. Said, "I'm very low maintenance. You won't have to worry." He goes, "Well, if I had a quarter for everyone someone told me that, I'd be a millionaire." And he's looking at it. He's used to murderers, rapists, armed robbery. He goes, "What is this?" I go, "Mortgage fraud." He went, "Mortgage?" He didn't understand any of it. He goes, "Holy crap." He goes, "Look, you have to be home by 8, it takes you and your soon-to-be ex-wife all day together to raise this kid. So you don't have to work. And anything you do, if you want to go golfing or you want to go bowling, you just put therapy with my son went bowling." He left me alone. He visited me once. And in the end, he just said, "Man," I go, "your life was ruined," and all this. And he was about to retire. And he goes, "I've really never seen anything quite, I've done financial fraud, but you have to do a lot of financial fraud for me to be your probation." Or like, "You robbed I said, on paper, it looks like to me you robbed a candy store and you didn't even do that." So that was the end. That was the end. So, this is still 7 years before I met Tony. So up to this point, if you have any questions.
How long were you on probation or parole or whatever?
3 years. And they were really bothering me about, supposedly I caused $500,000 in losses. So that was my restitution, which they still take 15% of my Social Security today. I see that letter every day saying, "Thank you for your 15% for the crime you did not commit." But,
So even all these years later, you're still suffering from a crime that never happened.
I took my Social Security when I was 62. You should always take your Social Security as soon as you can, because you don't know how long you're going to be alive, I mean,
right.
And will the government spend it before you get it and all that right away? Oh, they still have that lien on it. I have a rental property I was still not able to sell for years. They have a lien. They have $500,000 lien on $100,000 Cracker Jack house. So they've really,
Wow.
and I couldn't work. They took everything from me. So I was on probation for 3 years, but I made a nice contribution of like 5 or 6 grand because "You got to pay your restitution back. You stole all this money. You're evil." They were realized a pound sand. So she left me off after a year and a half. So this would have been July of 14. The day I got off probation, I call her Old Betsy. She's my big bullhorn. And I made some posters. And I had to wait till I was off paper because when you're on probation, you're still a prisoner of the federal government. You just can't go out there and complain about your case.
Right.
The day after probation, I went right in front of the courthouse at Mark Bennett and started raising holy hell all by myself. I go, you're not going to get away with this. You should have seen my marshals coming down. Oh, I'm harmless. You guys, Mark Bennett and everything. I caused them a lot of grief. I would go down there about every 3 months, and it was therapy. People think you're nuts. I go, I probably am after what they put me through, but I just had a hard time dealing with what happened to me because I knew it was so wrong that I told them if I had to come crawling down there in a wheelchair when I'm 100, I'll still do this. So I went down there, probably every 3 months for therapy and everything. And people would honk at me and everything. And I respect the law. And every time Cleveland police, I put my hand on my heart. And even the marshals, I would go, thank you for. So they knew eventually that, I had a beef and I was harmless. But you should have seen, you thought I was going to assassinate the president. All these cars come. They even did it like the second or third time. I go, you guys can do this. All I got is a sign and Old Betsy. So this is going on for years. And, it's all silent. Basically, after Dawn died in 12, they stopped the mortgage fraud prosecutions because they knew they were caught and they couldn't keep on. I mean, they had pending cases going but Dawn just died and no one knew, the true story. So one day I am so depressed. I mean, the depression that I suffered coming out of, even before, but it's so sad when you climb up the stairs to go to bed and ask God to please take you.
Yeah.
You come down the stairs saying, why didn't you take me? And you rinse and repeat. I mean, it was horrible. I got better. I had a son. Thank God, in a way, I had to concentrate on him and his mother, that I didn't have, it took time away from even having to worrying about this. But like when we met, I took my hatred and I took my anger and I used it for some purpose, and that was a protest. So 6 years before I met Tony, I was doing this.
So you were just exercising your First Amendment right.
Yeah, a lone person doesn't need a permit in Cleveland. You can go wherever you want as long as it's on public property, as long as you're not impeding, or swearing or threatening. Well, swearing is all right because I did a little bit of that.
I wouldn't know why. I mean, they didn't just destroy your whole life or anything. So I think swearing would be the least that I would be doing. For sure.
Oh, it was unreal. So, I never met Tony Viola. Okay, now we're going to go Tony and Rob meet. So one day in 2020, I'm very depressed. And I remember Tony's case way back when. And I knew everyone in the industry, and I never heard a bad thing about this guy. And I would have known. I'm thinking, if they're going after him this bad, oh my God, they're going to come after you. Sure enough, sometime later, somebody says, hey, McCoy, they're talking to you about you at the mortgage task force. So I only knew it was only a matter of time. So I said, I wonder what happened to that poor SOB Tony Viola. I had no idea what was going on. I had no clue. Rebecca, when I pulled up the freetonyviola.com, and when I started reading that, there was I'm ready to cry now because I just couldn't believe all of this stuff. I really didn't talk too much about Dawn per se, but all this about Caceres and lying in court and having an affair with a grand jury witness and lying through her teeth, putting us in prison.
If you guys want to know what Rob's talking about, go to the website freetonyviola.com. All of Tony's stuff is on there, all his court documents, everything. He has a vault that has all the evidence. Let me tell you, when I did the podcast with him, I sat there at myself and cried reading over this. Like, how in the world did any jury in the world convict these people of this crime when you can clearly see there was no crime
Don't matter. They
at
they
all?
they arrive to a conclusion first and
Mhm.
work backwards. That's how they do it.
Yep, they
There's
do.
there's they're pretty evil people, and um so I'm reading all this stuff. I swear to God, it took me like I had to go to the it was like 3 in the morning. I had to go to the bathroom so bad. I didn't want to stop reading this.
Mhm.
My life changed. Hope. I'm really innocent. Bang, bang, bang. Here it is. Proof, everything like that. So, he still had about 2 years of his sentence to serve. And I wrote to him, I go, hey, Tony, I'm Rob, blah, blah, blah. I wrote him everything. I even gave him the letter that I wrote Judge Leoy, saying how rotten and crooked this whole thing was. Because I was writing her. I was like, I don't care. You know.
Yeah, what can they do to you? They've already destroyed
Well,
your life.
I wrote Tony that letter, and sure enough, he wrote me. I got like a week later, he goes, hey, they're letting me out of prison. Let me get my act together and I'll call you in a couple of weeks. I'm like, they're letting you out of prison. So we met, and we've been the greatest of friends ever since, with one mission, and that is to clear our names, but more importantly, right the wrongs of all the wrongfully convicted. Because we're the only ones. Without us, this thing never would have went anywhere.
Yep.
It wasn't for That's why Tony and I kind of feel now, especially if we get this thing turned around and get our foundation going, that we were asked by a higher power to forego our very, very easy lives for some purpose. So I think that's what's happening here.
I agree. I feel the same way.
No, that's why we all met. It's not all by accident. Just
No, it's
for
not.
some reason, we have to go through things that are so horrible, but in the end, we realize there's a reason. Excuse me.
Exactly.
So Tony and I just started. You have to start just slow grassroots, and we were dealing with public officials, so we were able to send these postcards out with their own words and quotations and not have to worry about it. In fact, we started sending postcards, and we started having rallies. Then this thing has grown in the last 6 years, and people really relate to Dawn. Um, you know,
Hmm.
uh,
So tell me a little bit about Dawn's story. I know I covered this already, um, that she worked in the prosecutor's office.
yeah, she very talented, smart girl. I mean, and mature for her age. She was given the job of running the it was a multi-jurisdictional mortgage task force, which investigated more. She handled all the evidence. She documented everything. She knew everything. She was the brains behind the operation. Okay. And within a matter of time, she realized that the prosecutors she worked for were some of the biggest criminals out there. I mean, first of all, evidence started when this thing started getting holes in it, evidence started becoming missing. And and she naively, but they even wired her up to act like a law student, to help Tony Viola in his case. And they wired this girl, and she was recording phone conversations for the prosecution. It's like they would go to their fundraisers and everything, and Dawn was a spectacular person. I mean, that's why she realized what she did was wrong. That's why she helped Tony. But anyway, when she found out about all this, that's when she got a hold of Tony, and the real thing is, all right, they made a 24-year-old female who did not have any kind of training in this kind of covert operation work. No kind. What if Tony found out about it and he wasn't a really nice guy? What could have
Right.
happened? Hmm?
Exactly.
No one thinks of that. What if Tony wasn't the nice guy he was? So they got together, and unfortunately, she was found dead in her apartment the day before. Well, the day after, but she was dead the day before she was to testify and put a lot of very important people in jail and destroy a national scam about mortgage fraud. Now, doesn't it sound suspicious to you when someone dies just before they do it? And a lot of people knew this. Nothing. No, they covered this thing up so well. It's amazing. But and they terrorized this poor girl couple for months before she died. I mean, they told her, you better get out of town. If you say anything, we're going to put you away. Or, I'm sure they said, we'll 86 you in so much terms and all that. So she was really terrified. But when I first met Tony, and he said a 26-year-old female died in her apartment of alcohol poisoning. Now, I have an extensive background in life and health insurance underwriting. So I really know a lot for a layman in medical terms. 26-year-old females just don't drop dead in their apartment, okay? I mean, if they do, they have a congenital defect, either known or unknown, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, they fell, hit their head on the bathtub, lay there for 3 days and died. Or a suicide, but that's could be accidental, but you intended to kill yourself. Or foul play.
Right.
In an investigation like this, dead girl looks like foul play is the first thing you think of, then work back, right? Okay.
Yep.
That investigation, it was all staged. Now, Tony told me that she had a blood alcohol level of 0.59. I just go, you're lying to me, please don't. He wasn't smiling. I go, that's impossible for a 110-pound female soaking wet to die of alcohol poisoning. It's just, let's look at the physiology. 1 drink for me is 2 drinks for you, right?
Right.
2 drinks for me is 4. A woman will usually fall in the bushes or something and pass out before,
Exactly.
vomiting or, they can't. And, she did have a problem in the past, but you just, so I said, okay, let's just say, I go, there should be vomit and all kind of bodily fluid all over the apartment. Looked at the photo. No, like the maid just came in and cleaned. I go, this is impossible. I look at the autopsy. She had a bowl of soup in her stomach, no alcohol. Now, if you have that kind of level of alcohol, you're going to have alcohol in your eyeballs. There was no alcohol in her stomach. So, in the throat.
But she died from alcohol poisoning. So how is that possible?
Rag, I'll explain. Her ex-boyfriend, she was waterboarded. So in the throes of alcohol poisoning, when you're flopping around like a fish, knocking everything over, she opened up a can of soup, poured it in a bowl, cooked it, and ate half of it without spilling a drop. That's pretty good for alcohol poisoning, right?
Right. For sure.
And I'm going, no way. I'm like, how did this get so far? And the sheriff's department even wanted to reinvest it, but Parma, Ohio, the culprit, will not release the file. That's our only problem. We begged them. It's not going to cost you anything, but they refused to release the file. And thankfully, Tony found Kim Corral, who's a real justice warrior. She only works on wrongful convictions. Now, if you have an attorney that only works on wrongful convictions, you have a special person there because you ain't going to get rich until you settle. Until you settle if you're wrong.
Right.
Then you'll get your just due. But I mean, she just recently got a dude out of prison in Ohio after 35 years, and she's been getting a lot of guys out of jail, and they hate her guts. It's like we pray for her, because she's making these prosecutors look like a bunch of idiots, what they are. But her style, and this is how all of our style, she is relentless. She'll pester you like a 4-year-old wanting a candy bar. She'll relentlessly bother you until you throw your head. That's how we are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stop. We'll just keep on coming. We'll just keep on coming. And we were just at the Parma council meeting, and Parma, they got so much pressure that they asked a detective to reopen the case and look at all the evidence of Dawn. This happened in 23, like 10 years after. His name is John Morgan. He spoke at the last Parma meeting. If you look up Parma, Ohio meeting, May 18th, you'll see him. And he's saying, when I opened the file, there was no investigation. Nothing was done. No canvassing, no video recording, because there's a camera right where her door was. Nothing. No witnesses. They gave me this is the worst investigation I ever saw because there was no. We're talking about a 25-year homicide detective who actually, when he met Ed, felt really bad because they're war buddies, from the Vietnam War, that he spoke on his behalf. And then I spoke. And I read kind of the riot act, and when I sat down, I don't know, I mouthed off. So I got kicked out of the Parma meeting. Now hold on. I'm sitting there. Then Ed Pasella got kicked out of the Parma meeting. Then Karen Pasella and a woman we don't even know got kicked out of the. This is like one by one because Karen was like, "You crooked." Oh, you should have seen her, man. Karen. Then they kicked out. Tony was the last one out. So they kicked. I've never been so proud of getting kicked out of something. I don't think I've ever been kicked out of anything before. So, hey, we're just, in fact, Dawn's birthday is, Karen's gonna June. Oh God, I hope it's June 25th. But last year was her 40th birthday party, so we posthumously had one at the courthouse celebrating her posthumous birthday. Oh yeah,
That's great.
I think of things that no one thinks of, and Kim spoke, I spoke. Pacella's were there. A nice thing of Dawn, portrait of Dawn, was made by an artist that has a daughter the same age and discovered this and was so moved that it could have been his daughter. That he actually made a portrait of Dawn for us. That was really nice. His name's Gotti in Cleveland. Real nice guy. So, what we're doing now is, well, first of all, up to with Dawn and any things lingering or anything that you,
How are Dawn's parents holding up?
these people are so amazing. I've been with them since the beginning, and they have, every time they're interviewed, every time something goes wrong, every time they have to relive this thing. Yeah. Every day, like all of us, we relive every day of our lives somehow, and the unfortunate situations that we had. They're great people, and they have a little bit of mobility issues, but they go with us, and they fought alongside us, along with their daughter Christine. Great family, and
do you think they'll ever get justice for Dawn
I believe
while they're still here?
I pray. We don't know. I mean, Ed's 77. I mean, they have good doctors and everything, so they're well taken care of and all that. But I'm hoping the will to at least find out would be enough. What I mean?
Right. Keep them fighting.
I know my will is going to keep me going long after this because, I want to help people, but we'll get to the foundation and all that if you want to cover any other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, because now that we have the whole backstory as to, what happened to you, how it, basically just upturned your life and destroyed everything. You met Tony, you got involved with the Justice for Dawn, and let's talk a little bit about the rallies that you guys have on Wrongful Conviction Day, which, in case my listeners don't know, is October 2nd of every year.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about those rallies.
Well, I believe I've been it's only been like about 5 or 6 years old, but I don't know if you know one of our member, Gina Kenny, her husband, long story, in jail since he was 17, blah, blah, blah. But she started the rally like years ago. We only had only a few people. But once Tony and I got involved in the last year or two, last year, I would say we had maybe 100 people there at one time, coming and going. So it was better. But, we were figuring when I met you, we got to make this a national thing now, especially since it's a political year
Oh,
and
yes.
all these wrongful, this stuff's coming to a head. People are sick of this stuff. We pay these people salaries to put us in prison. Say that to yourself 10 times. You won't be able to, because you'll be so mad. We're paying these people to do this to us. It's just, you can't wrap your mind around it.
While they stand on their little stage talking about, my conviction rate is 98%. I'm so good at keeping the community safe. You guys should reelect me because I'm doing such a great job. Meanwhile, you've got 10 cases of innocent people, sitting behind bars because you're making the community safe. And that's what people don't understand. When these wrongful convictions happen, when there is a true crime, first off, that took place, let's start right there. When you have a true crime that took place and you convict the wrong person for it, guess what? You're not making the community any safer. You're actually putting it in more danger.
And you're destroying a family.
Destroying a family.
What they did, I'm a big boy, I could handle. But my mother, she's going through cancer treatments when she finds out her baby boy is in legal. I mean, the family, that's another. I want it, the family, and he's wrongful. I mean, if you're rightfully convicted, I mean, it is what it is. But if you're wrongfully convicted, you have a whole entire family that was wrongfully convicted.
And a lot of times, some family members even have the mindset of, well, the court convicted you, so you must be guilty.
Exactly.
And instead of saying, I know my family member and I know they didn't do this, let me dig deeper, they just write it off because, well, you were convicted in court. But here's the thing. Your public pretender, your prosecutor, and your judge are all members of either the same country club. They're definitely all members of the same bar association. They hang out at the same place, go to the same galas. So your public pretender who has a caseload of, say, 100 cases a month does not have time to do their job adequately, nor do they have the funds, nor do they want to step on the prosecutor's toes. So they just go along with whatever the prosecutor says.
Their main thing is just trying to get a plea deal out of you.
Yep.
And if you really want to defend yourself, you'll pay the maximum penalty for doing that in court, because they're going to 3 times your sentence and all that. And I don't think that's right either.
No, it's not.
I can't defend myself. So, but when they threaten your family, when people go, well, why did you plead guilty then? I said, well, they threatened my wife and put my autistic son in foster care. That's why. And they all go,
Oh yeah, they would never do that. They don't do underhanded, dirty tricks. Man, they do that kind of stuff every single day.
When they say that, you should hear how I respond with tone of my voice. It's like I relive that moment again, like I'd like to strangle somebody. So
I'm sure, like, I'm telling you, with going through what I'm going through with my husband and his family and everything, and seeing how they've been torn apart, and not having the funds to be able to fight a wrongful conviction because post-conviction litigation is very expensive. I see that, and I'm like, I would have probably pled out if they had threatened him or my kid. And there's no questions.
Well,
If
that's
they
why
would have
Tony
threatened
did
my
not.
kids, it would have been on site,
Right. Sure.
for sure. Because
Tony was so adamant that he was innocent. He goes, I don't care. They ruined my life anyway. He went the whole mile. And it's a good thing he did, because he was proved innocent. This is what I don't get. How can you be guilty in federal court and innocent in the state, or vice versa? That's another Einstein equation that needs to be solved.
well, here's another question too. How can you be charged in state court and federal court for the same crime? Is that not double jeopardy?
Well,
Because
it's different. Double jeopardy is kind of different, but I don't know the exact. What was double jeopardy? Because I thought that too, but it's kind of has another meaning to it, or something. I thought it was. I don't know. All I know is, no matter what, if you're a defendant, you're in jeopardy.
for sure, and you're not going to get a fair shake.
There's millions of different ways. Absolutely.
And with the whole thing with this is, we're not trying to say that everybody out there is innocent. That's not what I'm trying to do with my podcast or my organization. That's not what you guys are trying to do. We're just trying to make you aware that this stuff happens. Wrongful convictions happen. Prosecutors are criminals. It happens. They do this stuff all the time.
From everything, 1 out of 10 is wrongfully convicted.
Yep.
Now, that's a lot, but okay, we're human. We make mistakes. Mistakes are made. But if you have the evidence that it was a mistake, it shouldn't take you 10 years to get an evidentiary hearing in front of the same judge that put you in prison in the first place. Hopefully they're not alive, so you can get a fair hearing.
Right.
But, so that's why if you want to have anything else, we can go, and we're going to try and help people, because funds are limited, and you got to
tell me about the organization that you guys are starting.
Well, it's been a while now. I figured, we need to, start an organization for Dawn, because Dawn and Tony, when they were working on his case, they were like, they wanted to work together after this nightmare and help other wrongfully convicted people. So we're continuing Dawn and Tony's work. It's basically, in fact, the name of the company, because we had to have Dawn in it, it's A New Dawn for Justice, and I believe it is A New Dawn for Justice. Basically, the two things. All right, I'm trying to break this down. First of all, as far as the wrongful convictions, we want to have a place to where somebody could come to us and say, my brother got a really bad deal. Okay. And we go, okay, what evidence do you have that'll convince some cranky judge today that your brother's innocent? People have to have solid evidence to begin with, or on the verge of getting this evidence to even begin anything.
Right.
And a lot of people think they were wrongfully convicted, but they don't have any evidence. I mean, they just don't. So we're going to guide people. Now, on the Free Tony Viola, he wrote How to Vacate a Wrongful Conviction. Everyone should read that who wants to, because it can help them in prison, or it can help their relatives outside, because relatives outside of prison can do a lot of legwork for you,
Right.
So, so he wrote that wrongful conviction, and you just have to have the evidence. First thing you got to do is you have to get all the court records and everything you can about the case before you do anything. going to take you a lot of quarters and everything to get all those records, but you have to review that and just pick it apart to begin with anyway. Even if you don't have the evidence, you should get the complete transcripts of everything that went on in court and anything that might be available to you outside of that. But you got to collect that evidence, and then we can help you. Now, we want to start a fund because it's very expensive to get detectives, to get money, because most of these people, they got everything taken away from them. So we want to start a fund to help the people we can help. The people we can't help, we'll try and help them get to a point. But some people, they might only have the option that I had, to scream on a megaphone, not knowing anything, right? You can still do that. You can bring awareness to your cause. You can go down to the city halls, if it's something like that, if it has to do to the police, you can put pressure on people. And that's the key. You really got to put pressure. But, the foundation, here's what we want to do. And Judge Donnelly, he's former Ohio Supreme Court Justice, he's with us on this. The first part is, let's say you have a court jurisdiction, let's say in a city. There should be an unpaid group of volunteers of retired lawyers, judges, defense lawyers, prosecutors, very extreme jurists. They should review in good faith a case, a major case, not every, case, but a major life-altering case where someone's gone to jail for a long time. They should look at this case and in good faith, make sure everything looks okay. And then when it does, at least they did a good faith. Now, that'll never happen, but doesn't that sound like a good idea?
It sounds like a very good idea. So much so that, the prosecution's office created these conviction integrity units.
And these are unknown people too. I mean, this is just like it's kind of like a grand jury, only reviewing.
Yep.
But that'll make sure the prosecutors don't do any finagling, or at least cut down on the finagling. So
yeah, I never understood, so they're here in Ohio, especially, we have these conviction integrity units, but they're all supported or run by the prosecutor's office.
Right.
So we're policing ourselves now because they're not going to hold themselves accountable for the mistakes they made. So how are these conviction integrity units doing anything?
Man doesn't have a good record of self-policing itself.
No, they do not. So I get a chuckle out of these. Like, one was just created not too long ago in Hamilton County, and everybody's like praising Hamilton County because they've got this conviction integrity unit. And I'm like, but it's run by the prosecutor's office.
And
so
the police,
how much integrity is
we
there?
had this, one of our, her name's Terry. She was on, after, you probably don't remember a case, Tamir Rice was a young kid shot by a cop, but she was on the police integrity board and they bullied her out of the job because she, why? She was doing her job.
Right. Exactly. And that's, they need outside people, like what you guys are trying to do, like what I'm trying to do.
Right.
They need these outside people holding them accountable, calling them out on their BS and saying, hey, we the people aren't taking this anymore. You're putting our innocent family members behind, and they're not doing it for a year or 2 years. We're talking 90% of wrongful convictions. That number is just my opinion, by the way. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. But 90% of people that are wrongfully convicted are looking at life.
No.
They're not these small 5-year sentences, 10-year sentence. They're life, and life without.
Don't forget my long 5-month sentence.
Yeah. We can't forget your 5 months.
I had to clean a 10 square foot bathroom. That was my job for 5 months.
Oh no, that's so horrible.
They used to laugh at me. Guys would go, I've been on the toilet longer than you're gonna be here.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like they're just tearing apart our families and don't even care
And
because guess what? They got a promotion out of it, or they got a bonus, or they got reelected. They don't care.
well, that's why we can talk about Mark Bennett and what Mark Bennett's dream in life was to become a federal judge. In fact, he was thinking in Trump's first term. Um, I guess Bennett's a Republican. I don't know. I don't really. They're all scum. But his dream, and that's why he did this. His dream was to become a federal judge, and thank God he isn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was terminated for being a sexual predator. He was running around the courthouses trying to score with legal interns half his age, a married man with a 10-year-old daughter. Got caught, got disbarred. We've never heard of a federal prosecutor getting canned for something like this. Never heard of it. And we ruined the guy. We ruined him, Tony and I.
Good.
Oh, he's still practicing law. It was a disbarment, but he already served. It was just a slap on the wrist. But we got other irons in the fire because if you're gonna, another thing you have to tell people, getting a wrongfully convicted sentence is like going through, having your kidney donated. I mean, it's going to be a very long process, and if you don't have the will for all the negativity and all the grinding resistance and no's and you're crazies and you'll never get anywheres, you have to be prepared for a long haul. This is why I don't like these long hauls. And the second part of this board is, let's just say somebody through video evidence or a strong witness or something like that has evidence, that their brother that's been in prison for 5 years on a 20-year stint is innocent beyond a reasonable doubt with this evidence, real evidence. They should be able to take it to an attorney. It could be an appointed attorney just to look at this stuff, or spend the $250 themselves and have this attorney say, you know what? I think this needs to go to the board. Well, the board gets it and looks at this evidence. And so you don't have to wait 10 years, right?
Right.
When you discover something, it shouldn't take more than a year to get that person out, because you're still going to have to go through all the hoops and all that. But it shouldn't take 10 years once you have the evidence. Our evidence was Dawn's autopsy report. There's nobody that ever died of alcohol poisoning that didn't have alcohol in her stomach. And let me tell you what happened to her. His name's Marty Maurer. She dated Marty, and they broke up because he was a roid rage dealer and everything. And he was a snitch for Caceres and Bennett, okay, on other cases, okay. But Dawn must have met him through, her work. Obviously, had to. So they broke up, and he tried to get back with her. Here's what I think happened. He tried to get back with her right when this was all happening. They told him, hey, Sarah said, hey, Maurer, if you don't take care of this situation, you're going to go to jail for 40 years on drug charges, or you'll go to jail. So take your pick. So he probably went, well, either way, so I'll go kill this girl. So 2 weeks before Dawn died, she was in the hospital. She had become so distraught, and it drove her nuts. You know that somebody subpoenaed her medical records 2 weeks before she died in the hospital? Who would subpoena some girl's medical records 2 weeks before she died? They found her vice. I know we can't find out who signed this or ordered it, but we know it was Caceres. So the Pacellas had left Dawn's apartment, like I said, about 8 o'clock. They know that Dawn had talked to a male on the phone. So my parents are leaving, you can come over now. It was Marty. They didn't officially know it, but Marty came in there, and I think he was just relaxing, or, hey, let's get back together. Give me one more chance, blah, 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 blah. And he probably excused himself, went to the bathroom, and he had a rag with vodka in it. Just soaked the rag. And slowly went behind her and clasped the rag, because I had to look at her autopsy photo, just below her nose, and he suffocated her. It won't take you long to pass out breathing straight vodka through
Right.
your lungs. It won't take you long to get to 0.59 because it goes right to your brain. It bypasses the digestive system, the
Right.
alcohol. So that's how they got it so high without no alcohol in the stomach and all kind of weird, cooking a bowl of soup. They found her body. She's clumped on the kitchen table with her one foot on the chair. How could you die in alcohol poisoning when you're going into alcohol comatose and you die with your foot on the chair? Then another picture, somebody moved her leg. She didn't have a, so 10 hours later, I guess she magically said, I want to move my leg. I mean, all 6 police officers showed up for a welfare check when usually only one did, because Bacella's had welfare checks on her before. Nobody signed the police report because they didn't want to take responsibility for such a botch. The temperature was set at 85 degrees in April with a window open to accelerate decomposition, because the forensic doctor told us, her autopsy wasn't performed for like 18 hours or whatever. He says alcohol degrades pretty rapidly after you die. He goes, I bet you she was closer to 0.90
Wow.
death, because, that's why they wanted to accelerate, it'll degrade the autopsy findings and blood plasma and all that. But, it was all covered up. And I just can't believe they got away with that.
That's
Yeah.
so sad.
Yeah, it really is, because I never met her. I will one day, and she's guiding us. I know she is, but she was something else from what I heard. She would just light up a room. Everyone would gravitate towards her. And if you were in the corner somewhere, she'd go, oh, come and join us. And she worked,
Sounds like a really great woman.
the prosecutor's office was right by the mall there, Tower City downtown. Occasionally, she would go get a dozen roses, and she would walk around the mall and hand one to people she thought needed a little cheering up or something like that. So she loved dogs, and you'll never see her without a picture of a dog. And, in her spare time of fighting crime, she worked at the animal shelters as a volunteer. So they loved her over there. So she was really something else. So
Wow.
anyway. And when Tony found, you should see the court records. When it was announced in court, I don't know how Dan Caceres knew she died of alcohol poisoning already before the autopsy was completed. Tony was, oh my God, oh my, he was a wreck. He asked for a priest when they took him back because he had felt that he had done this, that and he even told her he wanted to take her off the witness list, because when they found out she was on the witness list as the last witness, they freaked out. And
I'm sure.
Tony said, Dawn, God, if anything ever happened to you, I'd kill myself. And she goes, Tony, it's way too late and if they would hound me for the rest of my life, if, we just, whatever. So, that was so sad, and you become aware, like, you hear about these Amanda Dean cases and all these other young females that Caceres somehow was involved with, because that's what he'd like to do. Like Cat Clover, she was the grand jury witness for our cases. Okay. Now, she was indicted on mortgage fraud, and she burned her house down in an arson to get insurance money. So she was in a heck of a lot of trouble. Well, Caceres said, hey, look, if you lie through your teeth on the grand jury, because we know you can, and you go to bed with me, all this will go away. That's how he operated. He would get young females in legal jeopardy. And if you're a young female and you're looking at a lot, what are you going to do? You're going to close your eyes and go, oh, God,
Yeah. You're going to do what you got to do to stay out of trouble. I mean, that's a fact.
Oh boy, and this abuse of women is another angle on this thing. I'm so sick of these
Mm.
men. I've never acted other than a total gentleman my whole life because that's what my parents taught me. But you got to go around thinking all men are pigs and the thing like that. That's why I want to kind of have a little bit of. I want to get Bennett and this. They knew in this courthouse that man was running around after interns and no one said a thing. I got a problem with that. I think it needs to be disclosed.
Absolutely.
I want to. I want to get kind of a female faction to, to all the thing. But you have to look at the. It was pretty hilarious when we all got kicked out of the meeting. But
Yeah, I saw the video.
we're
It
gonna have.
was
Oh,
it
you
was
did see the
good.
whole thing? Oh,
Yeah.
um, we're gonna have 3 volunteers because I don't want to ever go back. I don't want Karen and Ed. They get too, I don't need them to get ill on me. But we're gonna have 3 volunteers go there every council meeting and ask about this stuff. 3 random people are just gonna go in there. We're gonna drive them nuts. You have to drive them nuts.
I mean, got to do what you got to do because if you stop doing anything, then it just fades into as background noise and goes
Right.
away and they win.
And our organization sends out postcards. They try and send it. Me and Tony are the only ones sending out. I don't have time to send out postcards, but you only dribble them out. You don't send like 1,000 at once to everyone. You dribble them out because someone will see it and talk to somebody who hasn't gotten it yet. Because we get neighbors and stuff like that. We're relentless. I mean, we're nasty
Yeah,
because
well, but you're
we're smash
truthful.
mouth because the only thing they understand is smash mouth tactics.
Right.
So, well, my name isn't Dennis Monroe. It says that. This is an old email that was another name that I used for collections.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a
My
problem.
email is as old as AOL. It is. I was like one of the first to sign up. Can you believe that? Because people
That's
go, "You
crazy.
still got AOL?" I go, "Yeah, it's the only thing I have." So I think
Oh my
now that
goodness.
because I think we're destined to go. We got Tony and all of us now, and Tony really wanted to get this interview done, so he's really going to promote, what he can. He's great, at getting the word out, either through
Yeah,
the
he
press,
definitely is.
through the press, through the computer, through the mail, But our rallies have been like we went to the Parma City Hall 2 times within the last 5 years. Had a little stinko over there. We had Dawn's posthumous birthday party. In fact, we're going to have her party this year in front of the Parma City Hall. We're going to celebrate her birthday and
Sweet.
make a spectacle. Oh, you should
Have
see me.
fun.
You should see me out there. I'm running with that loudspeaker. I'm looking at people go, don't think this could not ever happen to you. You'd be sorely mistaken.
Oh, absolutely.
You could get sucked into something.
And to have no clue as to what's even going on because, oh, well, innocent people don't go to prison.
Oh,
They don't ever trump up charges against innocent law abiding citizens.
well, the environment now is I think people are really starting to realize that. And in this election season, we're, we want, because, this Dave Yost and Dan Caceres, I mean, that's like oil and water. This Yost, there's something wrong
He's a
with this
piece of
guy.
work.
There's something. He I think Ohio's one, all this fraud for Medicaid and all that, creating
Yep.
autistic children. You know what? We had to fight so hard for every penny we got. We deserve it. And people won't even live here. Get it over. That's another.
Yeah. I agree with you totally 100% on that, by the way.
So we got June, July, August. It's only 4 months. It goes quick to October 2nd. So, now we can really, I'm just trying to think of anyone else out of state that I can think of just to build, states and areas up. Because people are contacting us from everywhere. I mean,
You know, you spend years and years and things just trickle in. Then one day, everything starts coming in all at once. That's what happened to us. This last 6 months, we have made more progress than we did since the inception of this nightmare. Yep.
Yep. And with what your organization is doing, with what my organization is doing, and us collaborating together, we're going to blow the lid off of this.
We just got to absorb other organizations. They're separate, but our goal is October 2nd. That way we can work forever, you know?
Absolutely.
'Cause,
Absolutely.
my purpose now is I'm 66 years old. I had a fairly good life up to this. I'm thinking now maybe I had to go through this for the greater cause. And I'll accept that if I could see it. So, but I think we're on our way. I think we really are on our way. I like your group. You got a lot of, see, it's hard to find motivated people. But really, everyone went, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. But you soon find out that maybe 1 out of 5 people that you know will really do the work. But you got a lot of people there. They got a lot of, we want to absorb, especially the fundraising you guys are doing and everything, because we really want to create a fund to help the people that really got a good case that just don't have money. Or
Right.
we want them to come up with a little money. You got to come up with a little money, good faith money, and we'll help you, Ben. You just don't want, oh, we'll pay for everything. You want to kind of do it like that. So they got some skin in the game. So
Yep.
I think we're on the really good things.
I think we are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Rob. I'm glad we finally got time slots matched up to do this interview.
Well, I think the Parma interview, I think it was meant to be that way. So anyone wants to check that out, Parma, Ohio, on however you get to the council meetings they have. Pretty hilarious. We got these people behind the ropes. Well, all right, Rebecca, you have a blessed Memorial Day and your whole audience too. And, thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining me, Rob. I'll talk at you later.
You take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye. All right, guys, that was our interview with Rob. Kind of told you a little bit about how the whole Tony Viola, Dawn Pella, him, how they've all come together, how they're actually fighting back because of no investigation being truly done in Dawn's death. I mean, you heard him, alcohol poisoning, really, but you're sitting there eating a bowl of soup and you're perfectly fine. Okay. The usual, share these episodes, start a conversation with somebody, go to the website, purchase merchandise, donate if you can. Every single dollar that we receive goes to fund an investigation to help overturn a wrongful conviction. As always, stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay hopeful, because nobody deserves to be wickedly judged.